Hi everyone, thank you for watching our program. Don't forget we're here every week. Feel free to subscribe to our channel and don't forget to share. Enjoy the program.
Hello and welcome to today's Love Talk with me, Helena.
And with me, James. Today we're talking about depression after a breakup. We know that a breakup is never easy. You're emotionally attached to someone. And if that relationship ends, even if the relationship lasted for a week or 2 weeks, no matter what, it always sort of leaves a small scar or a big scar, depending on the situation.
But first, here's what's coming up on today's program.
Coming up on today's show, we'll be answering some of your most intriguing questions on this week's Dear Love Talk, so make sure you keep those questions coming in. On this week's 1 Minute Bulletin, we'll be sharing with you some interesting online dating facts from statisticbrain.com. And we also have a quick roundup of this week's hot celeb news. Now, back to our topic. Today we have the real-life story of Vera Horton, and she'll be sharing her deep past and experience with depression. Do not miss this. We'll also be speaking to one of our resident psychologists, Cassandra J, who will be giving us her advice on this topic. Plus, we have our fantastic Love Talk regulars, including this week's Trip for Two, where our very own Eric and Priscilla will be going on a simple yet very romantic date around the city. So let's get started. Back to our lovely presenters, James and Helena, for this week's Dear Love Talk.
Hello and welcome to another episode, another session of Dear Love Talk. And today we have the privilege of being able to answer 3 questions.
Wow.
Just a reminder that if you want to send your questions to us, you can send us your questions to questions@lovetalkshow.tv, or you can contact us via Facebook.
Exactly.
Or Instagram.
Yes.
Or Twitter.
Yeah.
Or by letter. Feel free to contact us any way you want. Now, the first question says, Hi Love Talk. I recently had an argument with my boyfriend and he said some pretty hurtful things. I can't seem to forget them or forgive him. What is the best way to forgive? Okay, first thing we need to say here is that you're dating, okay? I don't know if you've been dating for 6 months or for 10 years. Nowadays people date for indefinite amounts of time, which is wrong anyway, but if you're dating, we are starting from the standpoint that you are still testing the relationship. Now, whether, forgiving, your question was, how do you forgive him? Forgiving, you have to forgive whether this relationship works or not. So the best way to forgive, I'll tell you in just a second. But before we even talk about forgiveness, what you need to consider is the following. When you say that he said some hurtful things, sometimes you can say something which seems trivial to other people and yet it hurt you. If that's the case, then yes, you do have to forgive and continue with the relationship. Because if you were going to call off a relationship because someone said something that hurt you, you'd never be in a relationship for more than a month. You could be hurt because a person forgot to call you at 8 a.m. like they promised he would, or whatever the case may be. But if those hurtful things were of an abusive nature, and the person was deliberately trying to hurt you with an abusive kind of comment, then you need to question yourself if you should be in this relationship. If you're dating and the person is abusive, now perhaps it's time for you to hit the road.
Yeah, it could be a sign.
Or for him to hit the road.
Yeah, it could be a sign of future abuse, because if you're dating and he has that kind of behavior, imagine when you're already married. But anyway, going back to your question about how do you forgive. Now, forgiveness has nothing to do with how you feel, okay? It has nothing to do with, oh, do I feel like forgiving him? Do I not feel? Of course you will not feel like forgiving someone you need to forgive, because you are obviously very hurt. But it's It's rather a decision that you need to make for your own good. Why? Because let's say that, you know, for example, you're very hurt with your boyfriend, or let's say that you were betrayed or something really bad happened, like tragic happened, and you were betrayed, and many years went by and you were really like devastated with the news. Do you feel like forgiving? No. Logically speaking, you don't, you know, emotionally speaking as well. But imagine you separate and then you go your separate ways, but then you are the only one left hurting and not wanting to forgive because you think it's not fair, he was the one who hurt you. But deep down, you need to forgive him so that you can have peace. You need to do that for yourself. And it's a decision you make. Sometimes it does not make sense that you forgive the person because, you know, they really hurt you, but you do it for yourself. And only then can you truly move on.
Yeah. And it's important just to point out as well that if you do forgive, then do not bring up that matter again.
Yes.
It's dead and buried. Move on.
Definitely.
Next question.
It says, "Hello, Helena. I'm single, but I'm really interested in someone from work. I come from a good home with a stable family, and I'm usually quiet. But the person I like, and I'm pretty sure he likes me too, is a bit of a wild child. Well, he has a reputation for getting in trouble and has a completely different upbringing from mine. Perhaps this is what attracts me to him. Do you think that this makes us incompatible?" Well, I think this makes you not very wise. Incompatible, I'll let you decide. If you put 1 + 1, you will see that it's 2. Or, you know, you do the maths. Because if you were brought up in a certain way, you have roots, you have principles that might be different from his. I'm not saying his principles are bad, but you need to understand that a relationship, it's not just the here and now. If you like someone, you are obviously thinking of the future. Oh, I love this person. I wanna have a future with this person, a family. And then, only then will you see how important those little details really are to a relationship. For example, you see commitment in a way and he sees commitment in a different way. You were taught that marriage is for life, and maybe he thinks that a relationship is an adventure. And you know what? Maybe after 10 years of marriage, he says, you know what? I'm quite bored of you in our life. You know, I think it's time we we go our separate ways and experience life. I don't know, whatever. Think of something that you were not taught. And then it's going to be a bit late. You're going to be too involved. And you know,
sometimes people write to this program, and specifically this part of the program, and you get the feeling that they already know the answer to their question. And this is exactly that kind of question, because you said he's everything that you're not, in a bad way. So I think you already know the answer to the question. Perhaps it's better for you to think that this may not be something you should pursue. It's your call, but this is our advice.
You know, it's just like, for example, I'll talk about me. If I go to a bakery, for example, a patisserie,
I don't know where this is going, but let it
you know, I look at all those beautiful, shiny cakes and tarts, and I'm like, wow. But I was told and taught, you know, this is not good for you. You're going to pay the price later. And I'm like, but these look so good. It's just one.
I'm sure that someone out there understood that.
But you understand. I'm sure she understands.
Okay. All right. Know? Let's move on to our final question. And this is someone who spoke to us at Love Talk Live. It says, I got married recently, and I noticed that my wife doesn't look after the house like I do. I have always been freakishly organized and like things really tidy. My wife is more relaxed about these things, and it gets on my nerves to the point where we sometimes argue about it. What is the best way to make her see things my way? Well, I don't think you can make her see things your way. You know, here's the thing. Every time that someone gets married and moves in together, there's always going to be a clash about different things. If you come from different cultures, you're going to clash perhaps about the food you eat, about what you buy in your monthly or weekly shopping. If you're too organized, and not too organized, but if you're very organized and the other person is not, you're going to perhaps argue about that. And I think you need to understand that you didn't marry yourself, a female version of yourself.
Good point.
And you know, people are different. So accept that your wife is different. Don't try to make her like you. Don't try to say, look, be organized like me. Perhaps you have something that you do that gets on her nerves. And, you know, at some point, you guys are going to be merging more and more, and you'll take on some of her traits, she'll take some of yours, and you'll meet down the middle. Perhaps you are too organized, okay? And imagine when you have a child. You're gonna start having attacks, panic attacks, because your house is not the way you want. So, you know, let that go. There are more important things than, you know, the way that the cushions in your sofa are pointing or anything like that.
Yeah, a house is not a showroom, okay? I know this, I don't know how tidy you are, but then I don't know how untidy she is. But the thing is, my last advice would be, you know, have a conversation with her, you know, whenever the time is good, when you know, you need to see if it's good time, and whenever she's relaxed, and ask her like this, why don't you make an effort, or maybe what goes through your mind? Perhaps she's going to say to you that in the past she used to stress herself out with cleaning and all these things, and she became actually physically ill because she was too stressed. Maybe she's trying to save herself, but maybe it comes across as she's not tidy. So maybe you need to get to know her a bit more on that level.
And the good news is that this is not a deal breaker. You'll be all right. If you just cut her some slack, you'll be fine. Okay? We hope that these questions have been helpful. If you want to get in touch, don't forget you can send us your questions to questions@lovetalkshow.tv. Until next time, bye-bye.
Interesting questions right there.
Yeah, but we didn't get to use the whip today. Today we had some mild questions.
No, the whip is for special occasions. You know,
So,
there are situations where...
there you have it. Officially, the whip is for special occasions.
It is.
But now let's head over to our Love Talk correspondent, Jenny Cortez Ibanez, with today's news bulletin.
Thanks, James and Helena. Now, on this week's 1 Minute Bulletin, we turn to some interesting facts about online dating, and this is from statisticbrain.com from late 2015. Now, according to this Research Institute website, the annual revenue from the online dating industry is nearly $1.8 billion, which is roughly £1.3 billion. Also, the percentage of marriages in the last year in which the couple met on a dating site is 17%. And the percentage of current committed relationships that began online is 20%. But listen to these facts. Women online lie about their weight, physical build, and their age, and men lie about their age, their height, and their income. Now, there's no denying online dating is becoming increasingly popular, but perhaps all these lies could be easily avoided by meeting someone, well, the old conventional way. What do you think of this, guys? Back to you.
Well, they usually say, don't believe everything you see. I would say, don't believe everything you read.
Yeah. And actually, a lot of people, a lot of companies are making a lot of money on the back of people who are looking for love. So I think, you know, perhaps approaching someone and talking to someone, it's still the best way to get to know someone. I know we have technology and we have websites and dating apps and all this kind of stuff, but perhaps going up to someone and saying hello is still the best thing. Now, after the break, we are going to see what's happening in the world of celebrity news, and we'll get to meet a guest who will be telling us a heartbreaking story of a very abusive relationship, intense relationship, but also a story of recovering and putting her life back together after that situation. Don't go anywhere. Hi everyone, thank you for watching our program. Don't forget we're here every week. And click here to subscribe so you can watch all our upcoming programs and
never miss one. Welcome back to today's show where we're talking about depression after a breakup. Now we know it's never easy, and there are so many people on YouTube who are sharing their experience of their breakup. It's actually very interesting, you know. There's like a community. I don't know if I can call it community, where people actually, you know,
talk about breakups,
it and you know, help each other.
And we have to remember that it's actually a minority of people who speak about that, because most people decide to keep it private.
Yeah,
before I met Helena, I had a relationship that didn't last very long, 6 months. I have spoken about this on the program before, but even though it was a relatively short relationship, it wasn't relatively intense either. But of course, when the relationship ended, it hurt. It's difficult. You never end a relationship and then go for a cup of tea, you know, with a friend. It's tough, and you have to know how to recover from that. But first, let's head over to Jenny again with today's hot celebrity news.
Hello, it's time to give you a dose of some hot celeb news. This week, two of the hottest mamas in town, Kim Kardashian and Chrissy Teigen, who are both married to famous musicians, have recently disclosed they have something else in common. The two real-life friends discovered that they both had tips with their other halves on each other's wedding during a conversation they had for the TV star's blog. Kim and Kanye married in Florence, Italy in 2014, while Chrissy married John Legend in Lake Como, Italy in 2013. Chrissy revealed, "John and I got in the biggest fight at Kim and Kanye's wedding," laughed Chrissy, adding, "that you have ever seen in your whole life." Then later on, Mrs. West stepped in to tell her tale. "Wait, I got into a fight with Kanye during your wedding when I didn't go because she, i.e. Nord, was just born and I was so fat and I was like, I have nothing to wear. And so then he kept texting me being like, babe, this is the most beautiful wedding. Babe, this is so pretty. I really wish you were here at Lake Como." And Stevie Wonder sang, "Literally a text, like a play-by-play text," remembered Kim. "You got FOMO," Chrissy established. Kim continued, "And I was like, we got into the biggest fight. I was like, just stop texting me, go enjoy the wedding, because you're making me feel so bad and I'm so fat." Oh dear, first world problems. And if you don't know what FOMO means, well, just Google it, as sadly that's all we have time for. Join me again next time for some more hot celeb news.
Well, that was the celebrity news. Thanks for that, Jenny. Now, we have someone here in the studio with us today, a guest who will talk about today's topic on a personal level. I'm going to introduce to you Vera Horton, who's here with us today. How are you, Vera?
Hello, I'm good, thank you.
Hi, thank you for coming.
And thanks for coming to talk about such a personal experience. Now, we were talking about depression after a breakup.
Yeah.
In your case, did it get to the point of depression?
Definitely.
It did?
Definitely.
Tell us a little bit about your story, if you don't mind.
Well, basically, I met a guy who was, I met him online, and I was in the process of leaving my husband at the time. And somehow I've managed to leave my husband and get into a toxic and really controlling, really abusive relationship.
Did you know it was toxic and abusive right from the beginning?
Not in the beginning, because in the beginning everything was kind of okay.
Right.
However, I could see the problems, like he would be a little bit more jealous, you know, a little bit sort of more questions. He would talk about, oh, you know, why did you talk to that person? Why did you send that email? And he would be texting quite a lot, which I thought probably was a sign of affection to begin with.
So you thought it was a good thing in the beginning?
In the beginning, yes, because I thought maybe he's just so fascinated by me and loved me so much.
So you actually
wants to make sure.
So maybe you were flattered in the beginning.
In the beginning, yes, I thought, wow, you know, so much attention.
Men don't usually do that. They're not very
Absolutely.
good at communication.
And this relationship lasted for how long, if you don't mind me asking?
3 months.
3 months.
3 months.
So it was a fairly short, would you say short but intensive relationship?
It was short and very intensive. It was very intensive because the controlling behavior got just worse and worse. And up to the point when I started thinking that I'm getting crazy. Because he was controlling me so much, I couldn't talk to people, I couldn't talk to a waiter in the restaurant, I couldn't talk to my male friends. Everybody were a potential threat, potential danger, and he was jealous of absolutely everything and everybody.
When you say that the relationship was abusive, to what stage, to what point did the abuse get?
Well, it was psychological abuse. I think in psychological terminology, he was kind of a jailer.
Right.
Abusive man who tries to isolate you from anybody, who wants to keep you for himself.
Wow.
And basically the psychological experience of it, you feel captive, you feel like you are in a strange captivity. There are no walls, but he's there 24/7. You can go anywhere without him. You cannot get away from him, and he's there all the time.
Do you think you can share with the viewers at home just one example of something that he did to you that was so controlling? Because some people, people are watching us now and they are thinking, okay, that rings a bell. I am with someone who is controlling, but perhaps when they hear one of your examples, they will kind of, oh, this happens to me and this is not normal. Are you able to share with us?
Absolutely. Well, I was waking in the middle of the night from time to time, just going to the toilet, and I could see him on my phone, going through my messages, deleting my contacts, sending emails on my behalf.
Yeah, that's a sign.
Oh, wow.
And eventually my daughter replied to me, because I was like, what are you doing? Oh, nothing. He would put phone down, like, oh, just sort of like... And my daughter sent a message to me saying, Mom, why are you sending me those strange messages? And the message was something like, I don't need you anymore in my life.
Oh, wow.
And
That's deranged.
I couldn't believe it. I was like, what are you doing?
And let me ask you something. Although that was going on, how did you feel towards this person? Were you very attached to him? Did you really like him? How was it?
Strangely enough, we had the bond, we had that emotional connection, and he wasn't like that all the time. There were moments when we were in love, when the relationship was quite nice, and we did lots of travel together and lots of talks together. So if I would be with him without anybody around, without any people around, that probably could have worked.
Right.
But
Which
any
is not
social
really possible.
interaction, absolutely.
So at what point did the relationship break up? Did you break the relationship up? Did you run away? Did he end the relationship? What happened?
Well, I wanted to run away, definitely. And it ended up on Tottenham Court Road with the help of British police.
Really?
Wow.
Because I was talking about leaving him, I was talking about breaking up, and this is where most killing happens. This is where women abused a lot, at the point when they're trying to get away.
It's true.
And he hit me, and he started sort of, some people were coming to rescue me.
Right.
And he hit one of the guys, and somebody called the police, and we took it from there.
And that's how it ended?
That's how it thankfully ended, yeah.
Now, we're talking about depression after a breakup.
Yeah.
When that relationship ended, what happened to you? I mean, how could you function? Could you live normally? In what kind of mental state were you at that time?
Well, initially, when police took him away, I was really happy.
I imagine.
Because
I
it was really
felt
violent.
so free.
Right.
I never felt freer in my entire life. I really was like, wow, this is what life is about. It's so beautiful. And I remember I was sitting on Stratford station, and police called me just asking a couple of questions, and they asked, are you safe? I said, wow, I'm so safe. It's unbelievable.
Wow.
Yeah.
And when that period was over, because the relationship ended, police took him away, in what kind of mental state were you in dealing with the breakup? Because you said you got to the point of depression.
Yeah.
How difficult was it for you to recover from that? What scars did that leave in you?
Yeah, I think what happens is usually the victim and the abuser form some kind of bond. And this is a toxic bond, and this is something that creates codependencies. It's something that you start missing because love and hate and intensity of it kind of mix together, and you try to work out what to do, because suddenly He was not there. It was really good. At the same time, my life was kind of empty because I didn't have anything else. I've left my husband. I was kind of in a strange situation. When my friends wouldn't understand me because they obviously saw what I was going through, they saw that man was definitely wrong, and I felt a total sense of failure. Failure of me as a woman.
Okay.
Failure of me as a person who makes choices.
Right.
Because I couldn't trust myself anymore. I didn't know whether I will be able to make right choice ever.
Did you think, at that point, did you think that you failed?
I thought that was all my fault. Absolutely. Right. Absolutely. I thought that everything was definitely my fault, only that I've made wrong choice, I didn't listen to anybody, I've made this relationship going on for a long time, and it kind of felt that my life has ended.
Right.
Wow. So did he ever try to contact you again, or?
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. He tried to contact me.
I'm just wondering, you know, 'cause someone like
definitely,
that.
Definitely. He tried to contact me, and police advised me not to get into any contact with him.
You see, this is very interesting. I'm listening to what you're saying and how you felt you kind of missed the thought of him being there, you know, in your life, and you feel, you know, falling into depression. And this is something that usually people don't understand unless you go through.
People don't understand it at all.
I met someone, I knew this person very, very well, and she went through the same thing. And we used to tell her, you know, you are fine now. Don't just get yourself back with the person, because look at what happened to you. But it's something that almost draws you back. Of course, in your case, you didn't want to probably go back to that kind of life, but it's like there's something that makes you miss.
Definitely.
I don't even know how to explain it.
Definitely. When the toxic relationship is breaking down, it is far from over. It is far from over. I was arguing with him a long time. We were arguing every day. Towards the end of the relationship, we were arguing constantly. And I had flashes back from those arguments. I had all that sort of process going on in my head. I couldn't sleep at night. So I was really trying to work out what on earth has happened to me. How comes in 3 months this man completely destroyed me?
It's true.
Yeah. 3 months
Imagine
only.
if it was 10 years.
He took over your life and sort of
completely
brought it
down. Yeah.
So there's two things I want to ask you before we finish. What would you say to people who right now are in a relationship, the beginning of a relationship, but whether it's abusive or not, because relationships don't only end because they're abusive, but whether a relationship is abusive or not, that person is seeing negative signs and signs that are serious. And if they see those signs, what would you advise them to do?
Well, I would advise get a book by Pat Craven called Living with the Dominator.
Okay.
And the whole category of different dominating behavior are there. Also, do not ignore signs that seems to be strange, because those usually the ones we ignore. I definitely ignored. Do not believe into fairy tale that you are creating for yourself. Don't think that if somebody loves you so much, he cannot kill you. It's not true.
And I think the final thing I'd like to ask you is, if you could look at that camera there and imagine you're talking to someone at home now who just ended the relationship and like you is now trying to get back up on their feet. The relationship's ended and they think it's their fault. They think, you know, I'm to blame. What is the one most important advice you think you can give them for them to once again get back on their feet?
Well, first of all, try to get professional help, definitely. Don't leave it to yourself. Don't try to pretend nothing had happened. Something had happened, and if you need help, call victim support line. Call a psychiatrist. Try to talk to a GP. Try to find maybe group therapy. Try to find people who will be helpful in this situation. And take your time. Take your time to recover. Do not pretend to create success story. It won't help.
Okay. Thank you very much. We've run out of time, Vera, so thank you so much for being here to tell your story. And I think something important to mention as well to people at home is that, you know, life goes on. You still have a chance to build a success story without that person. Right? You're not going to die without that person. I know it's tough to hear that now because sometimes it feels like for some reason you can't carry on, but you can. Now, we have to go for a break. After the break, we'll be speaking to psychologist Cassandra J, who'll be answering some questions here from my beautiful wife, and also we'll be giving you some very important advice on how to move on after a breakup. Don't go anywhere.
Indeed. Hi everybody, we hope that you are enjoying today's program. Did you know that we hold weekly seminars every Saturday at 7 p.m?
That's right, come and join us at the Rainbow Theatre in Finsbury Park. Admission is free, we'd love to see you there. Well, before the break, we just had Vera Horton here pouring her heart out and telling us how not only that relationship affected her while she was there.
Very traumatic, actually.
Yeah, and also how difficult it was for her to recover. She's still recovering, but she's on the right track.
She is, indeed. She's very positive and she's a beautiful woman, and I'm sure things are gonna, you know, look up.
That's right.
Yeah.
Now let's see what the people in the streets of London are talking about today's topic.
Have you ever had to deal with depression after a breakup? And if so, to what extent? How bad was it?
Yeah, every time, to be honest. I think the first time I was properly heartbroken was when I was like 19. And then when I got over it, I was like, well, that's that done. I won't act like that again. But it doesn't get any easier every time you get dumped. It's horrible.
Yeah, once, a long time ago. But yeah, I think as everybody almost. Yeah, it was really depressing because after, you know, even a couple of years that you've been together with a person, you're gonna be, you know, separate. You feel alone a little bit, and maybe that you think that you're gonna find anyone else, like, you know, him or her, or...
Yes, the feelings of disappointment, regret, being let down by somebody, not anticipating how it would affect me as badly as it did, and subsequently my children.
How did you personally overcome it?
Time, just taking care of myself.
My one way was I was sort of moping around the house for like 2 weeks, being really, really sad. And I was like, you know what, I've always wanted to go to Scandinavia. I've never been. So I booked myself a flight to Scandinavia and travelled around there for a month.
I was like at home, I didn't want to go out with anyone, I didn't want to be around family. And then like just having my mum and everyone support me was just the best thing ever. Like support is just the number one thing.
I started dancing. I started doing a dance called Biodanza, and it's called the Dance of Life. And there's a lot of contact with other people, and it's lovely music. It's very therapeutic, and you go very deep. And it just took me to a much more joyful place than I was in, and helped to bring me out of it.
Why do you think dealing with heartbreak is so painful and difficult?
Because it's such a significant investment to like give your whole self to somebody and then have it not work out. It's a very vulnerable place to be.
Everything just shatters all in one second. Things just happen. You're going through all these emotions, like crying is an emotion, laughing is an emotion, and imagine not being able to do all of that because you're hurting, because you haven't got that one person. It's so hard.
It's so easy when you're with someone to kind of map out the rest of your life with them, and I think that's actually a natural thing to do. I think if you're not thinking about the future with someone, you probably shouldn't be with them. So I'm sort of like, okay, no, maybe I want to have a house, maybe I want to get kids, maybe I want to go on holiday. So you kind of plan your future with that person, and then when they just say no, none of that's going to happen.
At the beginning, you set out with this picture of being with this person forever, and your expectations of what that was going to mean, and that's all lost and broken. And I think it's hard enough for you to take that on board, but it's much harder then for you to look after your children. And I think that's probably the hardest bit. What's hardest bit for me was just not myself but my children and how it affected them.
How would you deal with depression after a breakup? What's the best way to move forward? If somebody out there is going through it, what would your number one advice be?
If someone out there is going through a depression after a breakup, I would say is try and go out a lot with your mates. Just try and see things for the better. Like, if you're not always gonna hurt, pain isn't a thing that lasts forever. Pain doesn't stay forever. So as long as you just have a lot of support around you, try and do things that get your mind off it. If that's working, if that's going to the gym, just things that make you happy, just try and do as much of it as possible. And just always remember, being happy is what matters in this life.
To look after themselves, to be kind to themselves, to find tools to help them through it. I found meditation really helpful, exercise, a good support group, prayer really helped me.
My one golden piece of advice would be to just forget about that person and you just can't really hang out with them anymore. Just go on a date, even if it's someone that you don't really like, you know, go on Tinder just so that you can realise that actually there are other people. Because it's easy if you're with someone that you think maybe they're the one or whatever, it's easy to just think that that's it, you've had your chance at love, but you've not, you've got plenty more time. So yeah, go on a date and just stop talking to your ex.
Well, there you have it. Some very good and some very bad advice.
Well, you see that people deal with breakups differently, right?
Oh, wow.
But it seems like most people, they have this initial period where they want to stay away from everyone. Yeah. And then there's the second phase where you go and find something to do to make you feel happier. However, that last bit of advice, you know, go on a date even if it's someone you don't like, I don't think that's probably the best thing to do just yet. If you're confused because a relationship just ended, don't just go on a date trying to find another relationship. Deal with yourself first and then look after that part.
Yeah, because it's not fair on the person you're going to go on a date with if you don't like
absolutely.
her, because then later you're going to break up with her or him. Mm-hmm. So it's not nice.
Don't go on a date if you're still hung up on someone else.
Of course not.
Now, Helena earlier caught up with psychologist Cassandra J. and got to talk to her about today's topic. Here's what she had to say.
Hi, I'm joined by psychologist Cassandra J. And hi, Cassandra, thank you so much for being on the show. Cassandra, we just heard Vera's story. What are your thoughts about it and what do you have to say?
I think for me, when I was reading this story, it sounded like a horrible situation that this lady found herself in with somebody that she thought she could trust. And I think the trauma of what she must have been through came out a lot for me. And I think sadly, I hear stories of a lot of people who are in relationships like this. It's a very common thing. And so I think for me, it was just the fact that she reached out to people when she realised what was happening and she left the relationship. And it was great to hear the support that she had found in the various different ways through her church and through the online videos that she was watching.
Right. Cassandra, now, what is it about breakups that really can damage someone in a psychological way, if I can say so? What is it in your perspective, professional perspective?
So when we get into a relationship with somebody, our body is flooded with something called oxytocin, which is a chemical that makes us feel close and bonded and attached to that person. And so there's a chemical element happening here as well that makes us feel really close and loving towards our partner. And so when the relationship ends, the chemical doesn't quite know that the relationship has ended. And so it hits us really hard with our emotions and with other chemical imbalances. And then in addition, we have loneliness. We've often got used to being with that person. We might have built the dream of a life with that person. And so when the breakup happens, it hits people really hard because they've lost all of that as well.
Right. I know these questions may sound obvious to those who are going through a breakup, like, oh, why? Of course we feel lonely, of course. But I wanted to ask you these things for people at home. Maybe they have a family member who is in that situation, and that for sure will help them understand that person who is going through that breakup and know how to deal with someone who is going through that. Now, what would be your tips for someone, for example, if I have a sister who is going through that and I live with her or close to her, and then what can I do to help her? What would be the best thing for me to do, in your opinion?
Okay. Well, the main piece of advice I would give is please don't tell that person that the man was an idiot, or she shouldn't have been with him anyway, or she's better off without him. Because actually, that's not what she's going to want to hear. She may still have feelings for that person and may be really struggling to deal with breakup. And also, she may feel a bit silly because she thought she was with somebody that then turned out to maybe not be the person that she thought they were. And so she may feel like she didn't trust her own instincts properly. And so essentially the best thing to do is just to listen to her and to ask her what she's feeling and just give her that space to talk, really. That's the very best thing you can do to support somebody.
Right. Thank you very much for that, because, you know, it's easy to talk about it, but sometimes if you live with someone or close to someone who is going through that, it can be very tricky, because our first instinct is to blame the other person and say, listen, the other person was really bad to you anyway, and we are not really helping. But let me ask you something, because breakups and depression, you know, they kind of walk hand in hand sometimes, and we hear a lot of stories, even on YouTube, many people sharing their stories and how they feel depressed. Now, what would you say are the signs? For example, if I am going through a breakup and then I'm just, you know, in that mood of, you know, sadness and loneliness, which is normal, what are the signs, the dangerous signs, if I can call them so, that you are going too far, you are allowing yourself to go too deep into that sadness and become really perhaps clinically depressed, if that makes sense? What would you say are the signs?
So the main thing to distinguish here is that sadness is something that we often feel as a response to something. So it's a really healthy emotion. We all get sad about things. And there's often a stimulus that's made us feel that way. And then ideally, after we've felt sad for a while, we'll start to bounce back a little bit and we'll start to feel good again. Whereas with depression, it takes the joy out of everything. And so even perhaps a long while after the breakup has passed, you just can't find happiness in anything. Even going out with your friends and doing other things that would usually make you happy, you just feel quite helpless and quite hopeless to change your situation. And that's sometimes when you know that there's been a chemical shift in your brain, which is when you'd be diagnosed with clinical depression. And it's very much that feeling that you just have no energy to do anything. You just feel perpetually sad and very, very down. And it's just something that then permeates into every moment of your day and your life.
Thank you so much, Cassandra. But just before we leave, we don't have much time, but what are your tips for someone who is actually going through depression and going through all these emotions, these negative emotions? And what would you tell them as a professional? What can they do? When should they seek help, for example?
So I think they should seek help if they've had more than a month of feeling perpetually low and it just feels constant. Then they really should reach out to their GP or to a mental health professional. Now, the GP might put you on some medication, and that's designed to help the symptoms of depression, which can sometimes give people enough of a boost to feel like they can move on a little bit. But actually, to stop ourselves from falling into that again, it's really important that we tackle the root cause of the issues we were left behind with after the breakup, for example, or other things that may have been triggered that have come from our childhood or other times in our life. So by seeking out therapy and looking into things like mindfulness, which is about being in the present moment and not getting caught up on the past or the future, can be really helpful as well.
Thank you so much, Cassandra, for your very precious tips. And so if you need any more information about this topic, or if you're going through something like this, you can always get in touch with us on questions@lovetalkshow.tv, and we'll see what we can do to help you. Well, that was psychologist Cassandra with some very good advice, and especially when she said that I asked her, what should I do if you are a friend of someone who is going through a breakup or a family member? How are you supposed to behave around them? And something that she said, yeah, very interesting, is that people should never say, oh, you know, he was not good enough anyway, and because the person is going to feel even worse, like, oh, I'm not good at making choices, and which is what Vera said that she struggled with. So I found that very helpful indeed.
Right. Now, after the break, we'll be giving you our advice, even though it will be more direct and perhaps a little bit radical, but it will work. And also we'll catch up with Eric and Priscilla on their trip for two on this beautiful walking trail between the South Bank and Covent Garden. Don't go anywhere, we'll be right back. We hope you're enjoying the program, and remember you can get in touch with us sending us an email to questions@lovetalkshow.tv, and we will answer your questions here on this program.
Or if you want to have a one-to-one with us and you're going through a difficult moment in your life and you need some specific advice, write to us again on the same email address and we'll be happy to arrange an appointment with you.
Get in touch. Welcome back. So today we're talking about depression after a breakup. And before we give you our advice for today, I want to thank our guests for being on the show today, Vera Horton and Cassandra J. I believe their experiences and their expertise has been very helpful.
Yes, I agree.
Now, we know everyone deals with a breakup differently. And it would sound quite strange if a relationship ended and you were as relaxed as a stroll in the park on Sunday afternoon. After all, we are emotional beings and we end up getting attached to people we are in a relationship with.
Yeah, and so whether a relationship was great or even if it was destructive, one way or another it can throw us off balance, at least a little bit. So if you are going through this right now, please know that this is somewhat natural, normal, and that life isn't over at all.
Something really important to remember in a relationship is that no matter how much you love someone, you can never make that person the sun your earth orbits around. This is what leads people sometimes to know they are in a destructive relationship, yet they stay in it because they can't see a life away from it.
It's true. No wonder why people feel like they don't want to live anymore. Putting someone on a pedestal can be soul destroying for you. Do love your partner, respect them, honor them, but know that there is life apart from that person. Even if it's difficult to imagine, there is life.
Exactly. And if you're currently going through a breakup, then remember this. Life will go on with or without that person. Understand that there will be someone else that at some point will come into your life, and you will then be able to forget all that you are going through right now.
Indeed, surround yourself with people who love you. That's very important. And your family, for example, your friends, give your best at work as well, and you will get out of this situation very soon. In the meantime, get out of the house, take on a new hobby, invest in yourself and in your career, and get ready for this piece of advice from James.
Right. If that relationship is indeed finished, get rid of all the mementos that remind you of your time together. Get rid of pictures, videos, ticket tubs from concerts and cinema tickets and all this kind of stuff that you keep to remember the relationship. Don't be afraid to do this. Be radical. Just like removing a plaster, do it in one go. The quicker you do this, the quicker you can stop lamenting what happened and move on. And this is key. I think a lot of people think, well, but if I do that, then it means I never loved the person. It's not that. If you really want to move on and you want to hopefully in the future find someone else, then what's the point for you to hold your mobile phone and then you look through your pictures and you cry, oh, I remember that day where we took a stroll through the Thames. It's pointless. And as as insensitive as this seems, it is part of the solution. So get rid of it quickly, and you're going to find you'll be able to move on a lot quicker.
Yeah, and even tell yourself, it didn't work out, I'm going to move on. Look at yourself in the mirror and say to yourself, I am going to move on because it did not work out. Because we're not telling you to brush it under the carpet and just say, and use positive thinking and like, oh no, I'm okay. No, say to yourself in a mirror, I'm going to be fine. I can live. I can, live through this and I can overcome all this. I'm not alone. Many people are going through the same and they survived. So can I.
Exactly.
And make the most of life because life is ahead of you.
That's it.
Okay, but anyway, now let's see what Eric and Priscilla got up to in this week's Trip for Two.
Hi guys, I'm Eric.
And I'm Priscilla.
Welcome to another Trip for Two. And today we're going to be walking around London.
Yes, it's one of my favorite things to do. We are going to enjoy the sun, the beautiful scenery.
It's something different but also very simple for couples to do. So join us and enjoy the view. Do you remember, Priscilla, when we came here once?
Yes, of course.
Really enjoyed, isn't it?
Yes, beautiful view. It's nice to come here when the sun is out. Last time we came, it was rainy.
Look at the pink bus. There's things of books. Very, very nice.
I remember. Do you like reading?
I do. When I have time.
When is the best time that you like to read?
During the day. Because in the morning I'm sleeping, in the evening I'm sleeping. The view is really nice.
Couldn't open my eyes, the sun was going straight to it. Do you know that I used to skate before?
No.
Yes, when I was a long time ago, but yeah.
Prefer football. That has something to do with Spain. Look at the flag.
We just stopped to take a selfie because as you can see to your left, we have the view here of London Eye and Big Ben. And we are really enjoying our walk.
Now we are going towards Covent Garden and I hope you guys are enjoying as we are. Come with us.
Let's go. Do you know the way?
No. Just follow the signs.
I thought you studied the way before, but it's good.
If we get lost, we ask.
Explore.
Oh, now I know where we are.
Where are we?
That's Leicester Square.
Okay. Now I see.
You see?
Yeah.
So if we go here, we're gonna get to Covent Garden. That's the way. We need to go that way. Right?
Right. Let's go then.
Here we are.
That's actually quicker than I thought it would be.
Yeah. Well guys, we are just inside of Covent Garden Market and we're gonna take a little break for us to date.
Yes, talk a little bit more. I was thinking of going for a coffee.
Wow, how cool was that?
Yeah,
right?
it's really something we love to do, right?
Yeah, and you know, some of the best dates that we go on are dates that we don't have to spend hardly any money, right?
And
when we go for a walk.
Not much planning, let's just put on our trainers and
walk.
Yeah, walk, and let's see where it's going to take us.
And I'm pretty sure that no matter where you live, there's some great stuff to see there, as we saw in one of our previous shows when we were in the town of Trim. And it's so small, but there's so much to see. So I think here in the UK, no matter where you are, there's nice parks, there's, you know, nice green spaces, or
some rivers that you can walk by.
You can always make your date memorable.
Yeah, I loved it. Thank you, Priscilla and Eric.
Now that's all we had time for on today's program. We hope that we really helped you who were going through perhaps a breakup. And if you have any questions regarding any of today's topics or would like to be a guest on a future show,
please email us on questions@lovetalkshow.tv and we'll be more than happy to help you.
That's right. And remember, you can also find us on Facebook or Twitter. So until next time,
bye.
Bye-bye. If that relationship ends, even if the relationship lasted for a week or 2 weeks, no matter what, it always sort of leaves a small scar or a big scar, depending on the situation.
But first, he is what he is.
Now, after the news, we're going to see what's happening in the world of...
There's something in the air.
It's love.
Yeah. Love and dust. Now, you've been through that, right?
No.
You have?
No, not depression.
Can you call it, not depression, very deep sadness. You were telling me how hard it was for you.
No, let's do that again.
According to this Research Institute website, didn't get to anywhere I'm supposed to be. Some straight line. On this week's 1 Minute Bulletin, we turn to some interesting facts all about dating online from late 2015. Okay.
Now, after the break, we'll also give you our advice if you are going through this situation. And we'll also catch up with Eric and Priscilla, who did a walking trail between South Bank and also we'll catch up with Eric and Priscilla on their trip for two on this beautiful walking trail between the South Bank and Covent Garden. Don't go anywhere, we'll be right back. I hesitate, let me just do that again, sorry.
In the meantime, get out of the house, take on a new hobby, invest in yourself and in your career, and get ready for this peace and I need to do this again. And now get ready for this is gonna be a while. No, it's not. Again. Now let's get ready for some piece of advice from James. I need to do this again.
Get ready for this piece of advice from James.
Well, get ready for
It's one sentence.
I know.
No matter where you live, there's always great stuff to see, as we saw in Trim, such as a small village, you know, in Ireland, and you saw in our previous two shows.
It's a town.
Even now, I keep saying.
Jenny, we need to take the.
What did I say?
Village.
I said village. It's the same thing.
I don't know if they might be offended.
Welcome to Hi guys, welcome for our trip for two for today. Can I start again? Got it wrong.
Yes, while the sun is out, let's enjoy the scenery and let's do it. I don't like it. No.
We are living in one of the most beautiful cities of the... It was going good, isn't it?
Yes, and it's one of my favorite things to do. I loved it when we were doing this.
See you next time at...
Trip. Only here.
Only here. See you next time.
Only here.
At Trip for Two.
Another time. On Trip for Two. Then I hope you guys enjoyed the view as much as we did.
And we hope you...
And that's all for today's Love Talk show. Be sure to tune in next week to learn more on how to love intelligently.